Okay, so now we talk about these migrating individuals leading to a population, leading to an ethnic group that is now, say, in Europe or in Asia or in America. Now, why does that matter? Because what that ethnic group has done is that small group of individuals who have migrated into a different area, now they're in a different environment. And our environment, remember we talked initially about the environment here where some of the original evolution is taking place is in sub-Saharan and Saharan Africa. That was a place where it was really hot and food was scarce. Now, if you go into Northern Europe or you go into Asia, the mountains through the Himalayan mountains here, now you've got very different environments. And so the stressors that are going to drive evolution within those environments are going to be different. And so the greatest example is in altitude. As you go up in altitude, you go down in temperature. As you go up in latitude, so you go from the equator, either north or south, as you get further away from the equator, you get more seasonal and you get colder temperatures. And especially if you get up into some of the really far north areas, now it's cold much of the year. So how does this affect things? How does this affect the development of an ethnic group based on the environment? Well, there's two important rules that are going to be at play here that are just looking at body shape. So the first one is Bergmann's rule. And that's that Bergmann's rule states that individuals in populations of the same species in warm climates tend to be less massive than individuals found in colder regions. The example here is bears. Okay, so here we've got the polar bear in a very cold environment. Polar, that's a very cold environment. So they've got a really big, massive body cavity. Okay, so that size, they're bigger. In this case, they're taller, but it's more that they're really massive. Then you've got things like grizzly bears, black bears. So grizzly bears are going to be in this country. They're in the Rockies. So again, they're at a higher altitude, colder part of this country. The black bear is at the lower altitude. So now the grizzly bear that's at a colder altitude. So the ones that we have up in Tahoe, those are mostly brown bears or black bears. But if you go up into from the Sierras out to the Rockies, now you're getting higher altitudes, you're getting colder temperatures, you're getting bigger bears, and those bigger bears further north are going to be grizzly bears. They're going to again be more massive. As you get into the lower altitudes where the weather is warmer, you're getting a black bear. Now it's a smaller animal. This is a 200-pound bear. This is more like a 400-pound bear. These are really big bears. And if you get down into some of the lower bears, they're going to be, again, smaller as you get into the warmer environments. And this is true for all individuals. So if you are in a population or an ethnic group that was living in a cold environment, you'd expect your body to be more massive. And that's going to have implications as to what sports you're going to be good at. The alternate here is Allen's rule. And Allen's rule is about lengths of appendages. So arms, legs, and you can see here in our example in bunnies, ears are an appendage as well. So in warm-blooded animals, in a warm environment, you have longer limbs than in a cold environment. That makes huge amount of sense because your body mass to surface area ratio is going to be important for how well you keep your heat in. So the massiveness of a polar bear, you've got this huge body where you can store most of your energy or most of your heat in this body and you don't lose a lot. So your body mass, your surface area to body mass ratio is kind of low. If you want to dissipate heat, what you need to have a lot of surface area on which to dissipate, on which that heat can go away. So if you look at bunnies, this is an Arctic bunny. You can see it's got little tiny ears. This is like a normal cottontail bunny is going to have a little bit longer ears. It's going to have longer legs. And then if you look at the hares that we have here in California, they're going to have these super long ears. They're going to have super long legs. And if you get even into warmer desert environments, they get even longer legs, longer feet. So in a warm environment, our legs are longer, our arms are longer. Not so much our ears, because that's not an area where we lose a lot of heat. But when you're in a very hot environment, you're going to have longer limbs. When you're in a cold environment, you're going to have a more massive body. So if you're going to be in a cold environment, you're going to have a massive body and short limbs. That's not going to be ideal if you want to be, say, a long distance runner. It doesn't do you really good. It's not really helpful, I can tell you, to have a big body and short legs. It doesn't work for me to be a great endurance athlete. But if I wanted to do something like a strength athlete, if I had short limbs, that gives me good mechanical advantage for doing a movement. And if I had a massive body, that would also be good. So now I've got to shift based on the history, where my ethnic group evolved, or not necessarily evolved, but where they lived and where they spent long periods of time, and how they adapted to that environment actually plays a significant role into what sports my body is best suited for. Same is going to be true for you or for other people. And we're going to look at that in the next lecture, how a specific body type is ideal for a specific sport. But the key rules here, Bergman's rule, the colder it is, the more massive it is. Allen's rule, the hotter it is, the longer your appendage is. So if you are from a very hot environment, you're going to have long arms and legs, small body. If you're from a cold environment, you're going to have short arms and legs and a big body. Similar things are going to be working in the background based on our ethnic history that are going to make us either better athletes or worse athletes at a specific event.